We will now begin only because we have a certain, these ladies are on the clock and they have given us their precious, precious time. It's not easy, especially the roles that they're playing and the positions they're at. I look at their, I get intimidated just by looking at their profiles. And this particular session that we're doing is called Empowering Lessons from Women Leaders in HR. So we're very happy to have our esteemed guests here. So I'm going to give it over to Huma to introduce two of them, and then I'll take two people, and then we will start with their story. So go ahead, Huma.
So we have, I would like to introduce Pouru. Pouru is here. I'm glad that she got some time to be here with us. She has so much experience and she's a veteran of this area. And she has worked in almost every sector, and that's the amazing part. And she has championed change management, organization structure changes, which you can imagine is a huge, huge task. So welcome here, Pouru. And I also have my great friend and Arshia. She's an amazing person, and the way she has led, and she's right now she's the let me just read it out so that I do not mess up with her field. She's the Vice President, Human Resource and Administration at Engro. Again, she has, she's one person who I've seen who has really crossed the ceiling, the glass ceiling, and she's really worked hard. And she also has a very, very multi-dimensional experience. And I'm looking forward to having this chat with her. Jimani.
Thank you, Huma. I have Alia, Zafar, her introduction. Mashallah, it was Alia, मैं पढ़ के सुनाऊंगी क्योंकि ये चीजें Huma is great with her memory. तो मैंने तो पढ़ना है because 25 साल के experience में आप imagine करें क्या क्या नहीं पढ़ना. तो diverse experience है public में, corporate, development sectors, including energy, oil and gas, banking, finance, health, telcos, and technology. She was also recognized as the HR Professional of the Year 2012 at the Asia Pacific HR Congress, Certified Director from ICAP, and her area of expertise has been governance, public financial management, organizational, digital transformation. I think digital is now the key word in everything that we do. So she has been at Askari Bank, at the World Food Program, at UNDP. She has been external trainer and an amazing, amazing person who has also co-authored a book named HR Directory of Terms. So we are so happy to have Alia with us today. I also have Samiha Zahid, who's the Chief HR Officer at Mobile Microfinance Bank Limited. Oops, we have microfinance, two banks. Yeah. So, and that is fantastic to have you. Samiha has substantial experience in developing, aligning, and executing HR strategies. She has specialized in startups, in HR strategy, OD, change management. I think the key word is change management. There's so much we have learned from her here. And leadership development and reward. She is an action-oriented team player who is keen to put her strategy into meaningful results. She has also served 5 years at HRS Global in the human resource head capacity. So welcome all of you. Great. This is such an August panel that I feel really excited in just being here as a host. So over to you, Huma.
Okay, so I know we, with all of our combined collective experience, I'm also looking forward to a great conversation with all four of you. So before we start that, if I can request all of you, if we can just have a glimpse, like 2 to 3 minutes. I'm cutting it short, but like 2 to 3 minutes of your journey, of your great journeys that have led you to the places you are right now. So I'm going to start with maybe Samiha, and then we can take turns. Samiha, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Huma and Mariam. Really an honor to be part of this discussion that we will have today. And thanks for calling us leaders. I think there's still a long way to go in becoming really fine leaders, I believe. But my journey started off in a very interesting organization with, and I think the credit actually goes, and throughout your life goes to the people that are around you. So I was very blessed in that sense that I work with really amazing people. Currently, as the CHRO, my role is very, very diverse. It's not just pure HR that we do. I also look after marketing and communications as well, which is a very unique combination. So that puts me in a very different position altogether when we're talking about, how we want to take MMBL. Key interest of mine has always been in the OD, because OD is where the change management takes place. And with today's topic, more there's a lot of emphasis that I put on psychological well-being also, and we will talk about it as we move forward. So this is an overall, just a quick, as being the CHRO of Mobiling Bank, all the aspects and phases of HR, including digitalization of HR, that's also here, and comms and marketing is also here. So that's a brief intro.
I think you nailed it. The diversity of the experience and the role really makes it more complex and more challenging also. Thank you so much. Pouru.
Yeah, thank you for having me. When you say leaders, I think I keep saying that leaders हम बन जाते हैं, लेकिन हम कभी पूरे leader बनते नहीं हैं. It is a journey. You grow into becoming a leader, you grow into becoming a better leader, and then the finest leader. So nobody's born a leader, and we usually it's the adversities that actually teach you, or they give you the path to go to become a very fine leader. All right, so my journey started because I was a cost accountant, so obviously finance kiya tha. So I started with HSBC, and I worked there in the finance department for about 7 years, and then 2 years I was with credit operations. So it was pure banking, and I thought that was my forte. And I was doing very well until I got an offer from Citibank. And then from Citibank, I again worked in risk management, again worked in credit operations. And just when I thought I was doing a great job, my boss told me that aapko HR mein transfer karte hain. And I was like shocked, what did I do wrong? So that was my entry into HR, saying ke, maine kya kiya hai? So it was like HR mein jana was like, oh, aapko backwaters pe bhej diya. Okay. And he said that, look, why I want you to go into HR is because I want you to change the concept and the thinking that it's not backwaters. So I said, okay, fine. And there was a deal. I said, I will do 1.5 years, and then you will transfer me back. And he says, nahi, chalo 2 saal. I said, nahi, 1.5 years. And then we settled for 1.75 years. And he says, okay, at that time, you can get transferred back. So I said, okay. So I religiously did everything, dedication, sab kuch, processes naye banaye, I did everything. And then I realized after spending 1.5 years that how much I did and how much I enjoyed doing that. So it was the business of people that was actually then my calling. And I really didn't know what was my calling up until that time. Because for me, it was that whatever is given to me, I should do the best of it, and that's it. So up until that time, I wasn't really sure whether this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But yes, after coming into HR, this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I knew that this is where I want to be. Now from Citibank, I went into doing a global regional role in RBS, which is the Royal Bank of Scotland. After Royal Bank of Scotland got sold to Faisal Bank, that's the time I thought, why just bank? Why just men with black coats, and why not look at people from in the other side of the world as well, which means the other industries. And lo and behold, I was surprised, because hum jab banking mein hote hain, hum samajhte hain that we are the creme de la creme, humse behtar to koi hai hi nahi. And then being part of Citibank and being part of RBS, तो हमारे में एक वो chip आ जाती है. वो chip सारी निकल गई when I went into the industry, and then I worked for the merchandising industry. Then I went and worked for GSK for pharma. I worked in the food industry, and I found that there were just wonderful people everywhere. It is just that the backgrounds that they come from, the training that they get, and how privileged the people in banking were, because there everything was so progressive and designed properly, etc. जो कि दूसरी industries में उस तरीके से था नहीं. So I was able to transform those companies, those local outfits into local corporates. So वो जो state type of companies थी, उनको local corporate में transfer करना, transformation journey पे उनको लेके जाना, that was something which actually excited me, and I kind of grew probably in that part of my career, because that's the part where I thought that whatever I had learned, whatever I was exposed to, I could put that into practice. So this I feel is my biggest achievement, that now I can say कि कहीं भी plug and play हो सकता है. मुझे कोई भी organization दे दे, I'll build it up, I'll be able to do it. So now that is the confidence that part of the industry gave me. Of course, banking is my baby, and banking is is actually my comfort zone. So when I got this opportunity to come back to banking, I took it. But then this again was a bank which is a microfinance bank on the way to becoming digital, and having partners like Ant Financials, which is the financial arm of Alibaba, and of course Telenor. So I wanted to get on the bandwagon of that journey कि अब ये एक छोटी microfinance bank कैसे becomes the biggest payment player in Pakistan. So that is what pulled me into Telenor Bank. So that's my journey. During this time, I was also offered independent directorship. So I took that. So I'm an independent director at 4G Fertilizer in Qasim and with State Life Pakistan as well. That also gives me a lot of learning, to be on the other side and look at things very, very differently, and which gives you which I could now empathize with my board members now. Finally, all this while we would say that they were giving us a very tough time, and fazul ke sawal puchte hain and all that. But now I know that when we were on the other side, what it means. So I have been blessed with great bosses, great mentors, people who guided me, and they're all men. So let's understand that there are men who have actually helped women come to this position, and for me they have opened avenues and vistas. And on my part, I would now, and I am wanting to open those avenues and those vistas for women who may not have had the fortune of having had worked with such wonderful mentors and coaches, etc. So this is
Fantastic.
where I am. I don't think I've reached. I think I want to become a better version of myself every single day. So I don't think कि मैंने कोई भी achieve किया है. Every day, if I do something, even if the teeny better, I feel happy. I feel achieved.
Great. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Leadership is a journey, and more so, it's more of a mindset. And I love the way you said that, this was your calling. So we all do detect our real calling. So thank you so much for being so
Thank you.
Candid. Arshia.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम. पहले तो मुबारकबाद हुमा और मरियम, आप दोनों को, for such a arranging such a great discussion. And I feel, actually I'm feeling very proud right now being in the company of such empowered and competent women. Pouru, Alia, Samiha, I've always heard about them, but somehow I never met them, and I was really looking forward to meet them and listen to them because there are very few women in the industry, and there are very few empowered women in this industry, and I believe empowered women can empower women. So thank you very much for having me here. Well, my journey started about 20 years back with a very non-serious approach. And it was just to run away from, the shadi and all of those things. Or right after the school, I just wanted to have some time, some, ja simran ji le apni zindagi type. So, so I started off, but
Yeah, but it became very serious, as I started progressing. But what happened with me, I couldn't run away from marriage. So मेरा career और शादी साथ साथ चला. इधर मैं अपने career में progress कर रही थी, तो उधर घर में, there were new entrants coming in my life, and so yeah, they were quite a challenging times, but the journey continued. So worked with different industries, automobile, telecom, banking, FMCG, and now fertilizers and chemical. So one thing kept me going all these 20 years is every time when I found myself on a crossroad, or every time, it was a difficult situation, I always asked myself one question: is it worth it? Is it what I want to do as an individual, or this is a calling from a wife or a mother or a daughter, what it is? So that question helped me, sail through the entire journey. So now my current assignment is with Agro Fertilizer, absolutely different industry, new things to learn from me, different set of competencies and people and everything, and it's going great so far. So that's about me. I mean, that's my journey so far. But one thing, right? शुरू में तो इतना अंदाजा नहीं था, लेकिन शुरू से ही I had this thing that I want to, help or support other women alongside. चाहे वो शुरू में मेरी colleagues थी, फिर मेरी team में हुई, या मेरे office में, different industry में. So I had this thing all along with me. Kafi later in the career, I realized that this is called gender diversity, and this is called, in empowering other women. But when I realized that, since that day till now, I think I'm very passionate about it. And every time when I can contribute anything little, I take that opportunity.
Excellent. Fantastic, Arshia. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you also for, actually, one thing that I've always observed about Arshia is her honesty, hard work, and combined all of that with a great humbleness that she brings along. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anji, Alia, अपनी पूरे समुद्र को एक पूजे में बंद करके आपने पूजे में बंद करके
So I'm just thinking, how can Alia put everything in पूजे में कैसे बंद करेंगी?
The challenge is on.
I think my journey, at least from the professional perspective, personal farak hai, comes from I think being influenced by my father signing files. So मैंने उनके बड़े से ऑफिस में उनको बैठे साइन करते देखा, and I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. मैं साइन करना है मैंने उस जहाँ पे भी. So I think that prompted me to go into civil service. So I was there, and I got sick and tired of signing things, because you have to sign like 350, 400 in a day. Eventually I realized सिर्फ ये करना चाहना will not work. So I have to go further in my journey. Civil service was a great experience, of course. I stayed there for 12 years. And onwards, essentially, I've always been a rebel without a cause. And that sense of trying new things without a cause also actually helps a lot in terms of how we go through our journeys and how we question things in the organization also. So for me, moving from one industry to the other has always been a journey to essentially improve my own skills. And although I've been influenced by my father, yet I've taken my decisions always myself in terms of where I want to go, in terms of what career I want to take, which branch of the career I want to transfer into, including when I came into HR back in 2003. So it's always been very informed, very structured decisions, and my whole journey essentially rests on, I would say, three principles of inclusion, of influence, and of impact. Three things that I have always focused on wherever I have worked. Now that essentially means that I've been working on transformation, but I've been working on inclusion and inclusivity always for each segment of the population that we actually interact with, whether it's the organization or the community or the society. Also in terms of how we can create influences within organizations that is something that I've focused on. And then the impact that we create, be it in social entrepreneurship, where I've actually won an award as well, or in the corporate sector or in the development sector. So wherever you are, essentially your value system goes with you. So my journey so far has been absolutely amazing. I am exactly where I wanted to be at this stage in my life. I'm also, as you know, on the board of governors of Pakistan Cricket Board. That's another very interesting journey for me. So from both these aspects, this is how I'm looking at. And I hope you can understand a bit of it from this.
All right, so Alia, thank you so much. Yes, we can completely understand quite a bit of it, but only can imagine what one goes through when you've put through that situation. So ladies, the basic topic is about empowering lessons we've learned or you've learned as women leaders in HR. There are a number of general questions that people have put forward and a lot of things we would like to know, but let's first get to, the elephant in the room and how one responded with when COVID hit. And how was it for you when you were put on the spot and you had to, deal with not just changing your mindsets, but also work and help others to change their mindsets? So in terms of maybe, right sizing, dealing with insecurities, now dealing with maybe how people are responding to, the changing, it's called the new world of work. Tell us a little bit about the flavor of when COVID hit. What all has happened in you as you as leaders in your positions? How have you dealt with that? So anyone can take that first. Who would like to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. All right.
Okay, Pouru, you first. Pouru, we have you. Then we'll give it over to Alia, and then we'll give it to the rest. Go ahead, Pouru. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So when COVID hit, we didn't really think it was such a big thing initially because किसी को कुछ इतनी समझ ही नहीं थी. Right? We thought it's a 2-week lockdown and 2 week के बाद वापस चीजें खुल जाएंगी, and then we said another 2 weeks and perhaps. But I think we as a bank, because we were already on the path to digitization, we were already doing a lot of stuff which was virtual, a lot of stuff which was going towards the electronic side of banking, right? So even our, say in HR, the e-learning platform, we already had developed an e-learning platform. We were going to launch it, but we were slow. We were saying, "Hum test karenge. We will test it with a slight छोटा सा population पे test karenge. We'll see how it works. We'll see how people react." We didn't, all that. So we were like handling it with kid gloves. And then when COVID hit us, we didn't really have a choice. We said, "Okay, now there is no other way but to just start the e-learning platform, have all these meetings, virtual meetings with people, start meeting people with pockets, explain what the whole thing is, explain to them that they need to sit home, they need to get VPN accesses." And you see, people in the banks are very, very used to having a 9 to 8 job. कि जब तक आएंगे नहीं तब तक घर बैठ के तो काम करना ही नहीं है, आता ही नहीं है घर बैठ के काम करना. So everybody to explain to them that you have to work from home and be productive as well. So some people को बड़ा मसला हुआ because they went from 9 to 9 कि 12 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं because meeting was happening all the time and everybody was struggling. And the rest of them said कि ओहो घर बैठना means कुछ नहीं करना. So to bring everybody on a platform and to explain to them that this is the new world and this is going to continue in some shape form. And as we reached say month 5, we really knew that this is not going away. And because until the vaccines would come and until people get inoculated, life is not going to change. So we quickly shifted our strategy. We quickly looked at what we were doing, whether this was going to sustain us, make us stay on the trajectory for the next 2-3 years, So we looked at everything, our HR policies, our benefits, how we communicated, what we communicated. And one thing we learned is there's never anything called less communication. The more you communicate, the more you are in touch with people, people benefit from that. People will feel that you are there and that you are holding them and guiding them. So as I said, everything from our structures, from our policies, from our strategies, everything had to be shifted. And it was tough, making people understand the new world. But इंसान बड़ा एक अजीब स्पीशी है, जब करनी पड़ती है तो कर लेती है. So it's like जब सर पे पड़ती है तो we will do it, and that is what that's what we all human beings are. When you push to it, you do it. जब तक नहीं होती हम इंतजार में बैठते हैं. So I think today we are comfortable in what we are doing. Today we are sure what we want to do, and today we have a plan, even 3 years hence. कि अगर इसी तरह रहना पड़ा in some way or the other, we will be able to cope, and we will be able to get on. It was tough not having to meet your boss and not having to see your subordinates and still explain things to them. But as they say, we learn and we cope. And the best thing is that human beings have a mechanism where they cope. And that's the best part of being a human.
Very true. And rightly pointed out by you, communication has been a huge key, or one of the hugest pillars in this time that we have all seen. So Alia was about to say something, and Alia, we would like to hear your insights.
Thank you. I think when you go through experiences of all the organizations, the journeys has been somewhat more or less nearly the same. So there was an initial shock, and there is that reaction to that shock, and that reaction at times in certain organizations was harsher than it needed to be. It was less humane than it needed to be, less of empathy as well. And in others, it was quite the opposite. So what we experienced, and what I personally thought and how we connected to it, was essentially looking at the larger picture, but in a very humane way, looking at it with a lot of empathy and understanding that the employee wellness comes first. So with that, we actually went through a number of processes, and we had, for example, a bonus for employees. We covered all the costs of COVID expenses for the employees and everyone staying with them, including their family and anyone else. So a number of measures, so that the first thing, of course, the hit that employees take in terms of financial issues are taken away from them. So they have a little bit of breathing space, and we are from essential services. So that meant that our employees were pretty much in the forefront and have been throughout. And because of that, of course, the stress was also there. So connecting with employees, providing them that space, the empathy also, and very, very clear guidance, support, which they required from emotional perspective also, not just from the financial one. We were there for our employees. That actually helped a lot. The second part, or the second component, is how you manage work. Of course, all the organizations had to speed up their digital formats. Some were already there, some had a few, some were sort of lagging behind. So everybody speeded up. So that has been, I think, an opportunity coming out of adversity. But also going forward, the future of work and how we all connect with work is something that is now very much on the table. And we've been discussing as to how we are actually looking at the contract types, the work, and who's going to work within the office, how many are going to work within the office, are there going to be any permanent work from home positions? And if there are work from home employees, how do you actually manage their well-being? And mental health issues, of course, are something that everybody across the organizations is also considering in terms of how to deal with them. So I think from a holistic perspective, the first and foremost area to focus on for HR has been employee wellness for us. And I do think, and I believe that this is one of the major areas to focus on going forward in the next 3 to 5 years, because this is where the crux will lie in terms of productivity of employees and also in terms of employability of future stream of employees who would be coming to us.
Very true. I think you just hit the nail. I think the wellness and mental health, and how do we, what kind of a framework we have for that. These are the things that we should be looking at and we should be developing for a more productive workforce in the future. Very true.
And what Alia just touched upon is, this looking at how we are going to look at the place versus the space. तो प्लेस में चाहे हम co-located हैं या हम remotely काम कर रहे हैं या हम ऑफिस आके काम कर रहे हैं, now it's going to be about the space, that sense of belonging, and then also aligning your mission, your goals with what the organization requires. So this is going to be a really the new challenge will be how to manage and guide people for that, to develop that sense of belonging no matter where you are located. So over to Arshia, आप बताएं कि what challenges, because we understand that a lot of organizations have taken different measures, and of course, depending on the organization, how they have looked, but in terms of you taking some really tough decisions, did you have that experience, and how did that, and especially in times of COVID, जब हमें भी नहीं पता था कि we weren't prepared, we didn't have a manual, there was no precedence, it was unprecedented times. Anything that came your way which really made you kind of have the shiver down your spine, and then yet, you were managing it? Go ahead, Arshia, tell us a little bit about your exposure or experience.
So I have, it happened to be that I got this experience in 2 organizations. So initially, when all this happened, I was at Coke at that time. And that was the time when none of us knew what to do, how to react. So पहले तो एक denial का phase था, और फिर उसकी acceptability हुई, and then adaptability की तरफ लोग गए, और फिर new normal came into the being. So I think then there were a couple of learnings in this entire thing in last 2 years from an organization point of view and from employee point of view as well. And then, I myself switched from one organization to another organization during this COVID thing and all of this online, everything was online and everything. So कुछ organization में तो अच्छा था, पहले से कुछ online platforms थे, कुछ companies Zoom use कर रही थी, कुछ Teams already use कर रही थी, कहीं Blue Jeans use हो रहा था. So quickly what we could do is, to enhance that platform and just do a little bit of sensitization and, hand holding and upskilling of employees on how to use it and how it can be more effective. I think the bigger learning was here when I myself switched, and I realized that how painful it is to be on this side of the screen all the time and not looking human beings and talking to them in person, and that environment which you have when you go to work. So there are so many things you can do, and when you're at home, you are just locked in this one box. So COVID ke perspective se in Agro Fertilizer, it was a remarkable work. It was very tough because a lot of cases were coming in. So help desk or a medical desk was set up, and it was a 24-hour help desk, and everybody, including their families, whoever have any issue, they would call and get the assistance, and doctors were there 24 hours. So वो उस तरह से काफी challenging था इतनी बड़ी organization को इस तरह से manage करना, but every 48 hours stand-up meetings थी 15 minutes की, and you would assess the situation कि employees में क्या है, families में क्या है, contractors में, vendors में क्या चल रहा है, and then you will keep taking actions. Now the learning which I want to share here is, when 5-6 months went into this thing and थोड़ा सा लोगों ने realize किया कि क्या हो रहा है. So as an organization, what we did, we started doing those check-in surveys. So those check-in survey will have 5-6 questions, and they will ask your mental health. They will ask how comfortable you are, what do you need, anything we can do for you. So that started giving us quite a few insights. So work from home, initially perception ye tha ki for women it's a very good thing. They always wanted to work from home. It is a very good thing for them. It's a blessing for them. But the survey told us that no, it's not. Work from home is more challenging for women. Why? Because the people who are inside the house, they don't consider that they are working from home. They are home. So kids would come, yeah, they will ask questions, even with me as well. एक कमरे में अगर मैं हूँ, दूसरे कमरे में बच्चे स्कूल ले रहे हैं, they would come, इस क्वेश्चन का मतलब क्या है, ये कैसे करना है, मेरा नेट नहीं चल रहा है. And if your spouse is around, he will keep asking you question. If you are not married, your parents are there, they will keep asking you, अब क्या खाना है, अब सोना है, अब कपड़े इस्त्री कर लो. I'm being candid here. So the women, they told us that no, we cannot concentrate. Plus, when you are at home, of course, you have to attend all your house chores as well. So then what we did, we started, some sensitization around it, that women should be able to talk to their managers and tell them that I'm not available at this time. So I'm taking my kids' school in 2 hours of the morning, I'll make it up in 2 hours in the evening. And then we sensitize managers as well, that yes, women have these kind of needs and we have to address those. So ये करने के बाद थोड़ा सा फिर जो एक थोड़ा सा settle हुआ. Otherwise, apparently it was like women were very happy working from home, but they weren't. So considering focusing it more on women, I think, there were quite a few challenges which we had, and then we sorted them like this. एक और चीज जो organizational learning थी in my previous and this. So a lot of time we would take flexible hour policy to the management or to the board that approve it, which was not getting it, because there were a lot of questions ke isme agile working kaise hogi, flexible hour nahi hai, effectiveness hogi. Now the entire world is on flexible hour, the entire world is on agile working style. So that is a learning as an organization. That times हम बहुत ज़्यादा शायद डिटेल में जाते हैं और अपने एम्प्लॉयज को ट्रस्ट नहीं करते, लेकिन जब सब जैसे पूरू ने कहा, जब सर पे पड़ती है, जब करना पड़ता है तो फिर सब करते हैं. So I think these kind of learnings were there, but I think as an organization, looking after your employee well-being is the, I think, most important priority, which every organization is doing. We got that counseling, online help. So if you need a counseling, you can, one-on-one, have your consultation, sit with the counselor and get, some help. There's online workout sessions. So you want to do, you go, you do those workouts. So these kind of a lot of engagement we brought in, but it was brought in late because उससे पहले तो किसी को भी कुछ अंदाजा नहीं हो रहा था. But once it came, it had a good impact on the employee health, mental health, and the effectiveness as an employee.
Great. Very true. एक चीज आपकी बातों से, yes, there have been a lot of stress, there has been a lot of challenges, and of course, well-being and mental health were something that we didn't actually look into before. Yes, it was always there, but it's the active lead solutions for that, like you've been talking about. Also for you as leaders in key positions, there were some tough decisions that you had to take. And looking at that and being in those circumstances, how did you balance the difference between the courage to give bad news and at the same time have the consideration for the other person's feelings? So how were you juggling with these two? Samiha, if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I think my colleagues have very, very nicely and precisely summed it up. But all the learnings that the organizations were taking, I think it was a good thing that we were learning from each other. So none of us actually had a manual how to deal with emotions, psychology, organizations, what to do, what not to do. But I think the good thing that globally was happening was, there were a lot of seminars taking place and each one of us was learning from it. And then we were applying it appropriately within our organization. My story is a bit it's a bit different and it's a bit interesting at the same time, because I was learning obviously from external sources as well, and then I was learning things that were happening at home with me. I was learning from my cousin who had small children at home. I was learning from my brother who is in Australia, different time zone, but then Australia had a different kind of lockdown. They had different issues. We still had our grocery stores open, so we were still going out and couple of things. They had a different kind of a lockdown. So I was learning from these three areas. And I think most of you will resonate when we had this lockdown and we were home. So in the beginning, it was really easy. So, a lot of family time, people are going out, looking after their health and they're walking and doing a couple of things. But then those things started to pile up and we could all feel it, right? And I think
the family was climbing on your nerves, to be honest.
It was. And I think, the thing that actually hit me personally was the isolation part. So obviously we're having meetings on Zoom. We're meeting family on Zoom again. We're speaking to them on the phone. I think the isolation part was something that actually hit me personally really badly. And then the home chores and everything. And somehow, I don't know, the family was just hungry all the time. So there were a couple of things that was, just like piling up. And everybody smiling here, I'm sure they can understand what I'm saying. They're just hungry all the time. And that is how it actually made me realize in my experience that when we're talking about a larger family within our organization, I'm sure there are people with different issues happening in their home, in their workplace, that we actually need to understand. I think one of the beauty about banking is because the banking industry during COVID supported the economy and it never slept. So the bank branches throughout the country were continuously open. So, hats off to our frontline heroes that despite we had flexibility in the head office, they had to be in the branches. And a number of COVID cases if I compare between head office and branches, in the branches it was high because the customers were still coming and the branch staff was still coming. So those were a couple of learnings that we actually had to, think that what are we going to do? So I think, as my colleague said, we did some extra spending on our tests, health, well-being. We had our survey last year. We're due with a survey this year. The results were not what I expected. There were, I don't want to share, but there were some that were really disturbing. Very few, very, very minute percentage, but I was not expecting for that to be ticked by somebody there. So that actually gives you a feeling that in your extended family, there are people who are going through some bad mental state. As far as the job security was concerned, I think because the banking industry kept on evolving, growing, and it was business as usual. So I think on the job security part, people were generally okay, but they were more concerned because if you remember, initially people were just not realizing that COVID is real, unless and until that we either knew somebody who passed away, or some extended family, and that is how that realization started to come. We also, during this process, realized that hybrid model is going to be the way forward, post-COVID also, because that meetup, that social networking is something that people will long for. So out of all the other learnings that we drive at MMBL, and we were looking at our sister concerned company Jazz, we were looking at our our parent company Vion, which is based in Amsterdam. So all of those learnings and those sharings were coming up, and I believe that moving forward, hybrid model is the one that's going to come. Another interesting thing that actually happened in MMBL is lots of people developed the urge for self-care, and I think that's across a lot of organizations. So there were two basically legs, as I must say. Ek self-care ka, and the other was where the organization was providing you with platform. We provided them with psychologists. So from survey, whatever results we got, we were helping them out with COVID. The flexi timings, obviously, that came up. Internet was an issue at many of our employees' locations, so MMBL provided them with our internet solution as well. At a few places with home furniture as well. So that's something that we provided our employees. And one important thing that I feel that we generally don't talk about is your inner faith as well. Your faith actually helps you to fight many fronts. And I think that's something that we should point out as well. So talking about bad news, I think that's what I wanted to tell about how and what we've done in MMBL.
No, fantastic. Ladies, you've, I think, summed it up beautifully, but I think being women, I think you did an extra impact because I think we, and this forum is specifically for women in the HR because it's one that you sometimes have to bring bad news and sometimes you have to handle people's mental state. And everything was happening together. ये नहीं था कि हम एक-एक करके we had time to deal with it. And I think being multitaskers, if I might say so, the men on here with this forum, I know you guys love me very much, but it's absolutely true that being multitaskers, I think अब घर वालों को भी अहमियत हो गई है हमारी कि जी हम वाकई multitasking कर सकते हैं. तो हमें तंग करने के बावजूद दिल में उनकी थोड़ी सी एक और हमारे लिए एक one notch, they have, appreciated what we're doing. So this was more of the immediate, go-to plan and action of how we managed everything. I would like to put something forward, which is a more of a concern that is, I'm sure that the listeners who are here, the young ladies who are here, and even the young men who want to learn from such experienced people like yourself, how to deal with certain issues. And there is a very hot topic, unfortunately, I have to say it's a topic which is talked about so much now in Pakistan and in the recent past. And being in the position that you are, what do you do to address workplace harassment, which is not at all it's not an illusion, it's something that happens. And we would like to know, because what we want from this forum is to leave some information with these people who are here and whoever will ever listen to this and learn from it and maybe come out and take some guidance. One, how do you deal with it and what tips would you leave for people who are going through it?
Alia. Alia,
or anyone, whoever wants to say something, please go ahead.
Go ahead.
May I? The voice just went off, so I'm not sure if I can be heard.
We can hear you perfectly, Alia.
All right. So the first aspect is, as an organization, what you can do in terms of harassment at workplace. So I think it's a very complex situation. It's a very complex area to deal with, because most of the organizations are not balanced in terms of their gender presence. And you do not find most of the time, even when you make different tools available to the organization, you don't find them robust enough. And that is the main challenge that as organizations we are facing, I think. So we do need to look at these aspects and see how we can fix them. And there are, I think, multiple ways of fixing them. So first and foremost, of course, is building trust. Without building trust, harassment cases will not come to you as HR. Now, building trust essentially requires certain tools to be present, which are, for example, your policies on harassment at workplace, sexual harassment, plus your policies on grievance, plus your policy on retaliation, plus your policy on consensual relationships, because they all go hand in hand. If you have one and you don't have the other, you will have a gap eventually. Secondly, having standing committees where the women are not just present, because women presence means that you have 4 members or 3 members and one is a female. 3 and one female is what the act prescribes for us. However, you don't find that tipping balance. The third problem in making these committees is that you do not find men and women who do not have embedded biases. So there's a lot of training which has to go through for these committee members first and foremost. There is a lot more communication which has to go through to the whole organization in terms of the do's and don'ts, the culture that the organization wants to have, and what is that culture and how it is defined. And if we don't do it, a lot of times the baseline culture of a particular household, of a particular province, of a particular ethnicity will override. And we know in terms of how patriarchy rules the world, it's not just in Pakistan, it's everywhere, that component of patriarchy will be present in every person who is coming in, whether male or female. So we are fighting against multiple battles, essentially, against multiple kind of challenges. So we have to have a very holistic approach. We have to have the tools, we have to have the policies, we have to have the communication, and we have to build the trust by having zero tolerance. When these cases come in front, we should be able to have the legal due process done properly, which means that both the parties, the accused and the victim, are given full space for either proving or disproving whatever it may be. And for the accused, it's always, they have to disprove, they have to specify, okay, I haven't done it, and they have to present their evidence for it. So we have to go through all these components, and then at the same time, we really need a lot of conversations around it, not just lectures, not just trainings. We need internal introspection, conversations. What does a joke mean? Microaggressions especially are something that we need to always look at, and microaggressions take place all the time. So whether we even define and understand what these microaggressions are, I have seen even trainers of harassment using them, not understanding that what they are saying is absolutely against the very basics of harassment. So when anyone like that comes, anyone who has been harassed and approaches, having a safe environment is extremely important. And if we don't have a safe environment, if we don't have the space for complete confidentiality, then again, we are failing the person who's coming to us. And that would mean failing everyone else as well. At times, a lot of these victims go back, they don't want to press it because they have been approached by others. We as organizations need to remember our duty of care. We are responsible for all these men and women coming into the organization. We are responsible that they are in a safe environment, and we are supposed to provide them. So even if they withdraw the applications, we need to see how we can go forward and make sure that this kind of atmosphere is absolutely not accepted by anyone in the organization. So that's how you need to sort of look at it, I think, holistically.
No, thank you, Alia. I think you have very clearly given us an understanding how it is everything that goes hand in hand. It's not just the conversation, or it's not just the mindset, or it's not just having an open door and say, walk in and tell us anytime. It's not just the safety net. In fact, it's also the policies, and as an organization addressing them. And I'm sure that the role you're in, and I'm sure that there is this onus and this responsibility on your shoulders as well to make sure that the organization pays attention to all these things. It's a cultural change. It's a behavioral mindset change. The lingo, the language we use, how we sound condescending, how we make jokes, and I think that's very well shared by you. Even the microaggression, I mean, just this terminology itself, we have to be not just aware of it, be careful and be aware that even if we are, because we're so used to being in the same culture, हम भी कभी गलती से कर देते हैं और मजाक कर लेते हैं, not realizing हम भी उसी में we're falling into that same trap. So
हम बहुत
anybody
ज्यादा
else?
कर रहे होते हैं, बहुत
बहुत
ज्यादा
ज्यादा
कर रहे होते हैं. Sorry to cut you, but I'll just give you
No,
one
go ahead.
example. जब आपके
Please.
पास, आप सबके पास, किसी के पास harassment case आता है और कमेटी से, मैंने I've asked committees everywhere, what's your first, and give me an honest opinion, what's the first thing which comes to your mind? Invariably कहते हैं कि लगता ये है कि लड़की झूठ बोल रही है.
हाँ.
So यानी कहीं हमारे दबाव में, and we have to fight against these things. It's embedded in us.
We all
So
have
when-
this unconscious bias.
Yeah.
You are very, very right
Yeah.
about it. We
So
do have
it's the whole
unconscious
society working against women from that perspective.
Yeah, it is. I think, and it's even in, Homa and I are running our organization as being women. Sometimes we forget women because we have to behave like, the counterparts. But it is very difficult to take that and cascade it and impart in every level. It feels like you are fighting. And sometimes you're like, where have I lost the thread? Have I become part of that, that same language? And you have to keep on checking yourself. I think ये policies अगर आप किसी तरह इसको सबके लिए कर देना available,
it's not the
it will be
policy.
so.
I think आगे ने बहुत एक सही
Yeah.
बात की. एक every level पे introspection of how we all are behaving is very, very important, and I don't know how much we do that. So any of the other ladies would like to throw some light or insights? Arshia, Samiha.
Arshia,
So,
Pouru, आप बोलें.
yeah, I just want to just add, I think Alia has been very articulate, and whatever she said exactly is what is needed. So it starts with trust, and it starts with the tools, all the tools that you can give to the people, have those policies, communicate, give them an environment which makes them comfortable enough to come to HR, because trust me, women are not comfortable reporting this. If such an act does take place. Also, you need to make examples. You need to make examples of cases that you resolve, and also tell people कि इसको ये हुआ था, हमने इसको ये किया, so that more and more women have the guts to come up and to report. Many women, ये जो micro aggression की बात हो रही है, micro aggression को तो कोई देखता ही नहीं, कोई सोचता ही नहीं है, because they say कि भाई men are men and they'll talk like that, and men are men and this is something we need to accept. तो एक इतनी acceptance आ गई है कि भाई अगर if you are working in an environment which has more men and in a society which is patriarchal, इतना तो सोचना, इतना तो accept करना पड़ेगा. And also, I mean, and men have been telling women कि अगर घर से बाहर निकली हैं तो ये इतना तो होगा ही. So to make them realize that no, this is not acceptable. And I feel that rather than educating the women, one needs to educate the men. So जितनी हम women को ये कर रहे हैं ना कि आप बोलें, ये ना करें, I think we need to train the boys. We need to train them. We need to counsel the boys that this is not an acceptable behavior, whilst giving that level of a complete confidentiality to the person who's reporting the crime, and setting a baseline culture where something of this nature is just not tolerated. In our committees, we have one female and 3 men. Like 3 men होते हैं, मुश्किल से एक औरत को हम करें कि भाई इसको भी हम ऐड करें. And then to make sure that आपकी बात रहे और आपकी बात सुनी जाए, a woman has to be so prepared with so much information prior to coming in that meeting. So ये नहीं है कि committee meeting हमने कर दी, हमने case देख दिया. I mean, I have to be extra vigilant. I have to come up with extra evidence, extra everything, so that there is no way that I am shot down saying, इससे खुद ही ये किया होगा, ये खुद ही ना, like I've heard things like खुद मटक के चलती है. What is मटक के चलना? You know,
If God has given you hips, yaar, what can you do?
तो मटक के चलती है, इसका ही fault होगा. And you know, she's called it on herself. No. So like I said, you know, work on the boys. That's actually been my mantra now, that, you know, work on the boys.
That's a very tall task, and thank you for taking it on. Arshia, you were wanting to say something.
जी मैं I think कुछ चीजें तो गुरु ने cover कर ली हैं, because you know behavioral change, behavior is like a iceberg, and what we see is tip of the iceberg. Behavior बहुत deep rooted होते हैं. आपका brought up है या आपकी कुछ beliefs हैं या क्या है, उनको change करना you need a lot of time. But as तो यहाँ जितने audience हैं और उनके लिए मेरा सिर्फ ये point of view tha that, you know, don't wait for policies to come, and don't wait for someone to come and ask you. If you have gone through such an incident, man or woman, do raise it. Do not stay quiet. First of all, do not stay quiet कि ये मैं जाके किससे बात करूं, ये तो फिर 4 लोगों को पता चल जाएगी, फिर ये होगा, फिर लोग मुझे ही गलत समझेंगे. You know, don't fall into that trap. If something has happened which is wrong, stand for it. और organization के perspective से I realize that बहुत सारी organizations काम कर रही हैं, harassment committees हैं, harassment policies हैं, but उधर भी behavioral change की बहुत सख्त ज़रूरत है, जैसे भी सबने explain किया, because ये deep rooted behaviors हैं और इनको चेंज करने के लिए आपको काम करना पड़ेगा. जो आपकी यंगर जनरेशन है या जो यंगर लीडर्स हैं, वो आर बिकमिंग पार्ट ऑफ योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और वो आर कमिंग स्ट्रेट टू वर्क फ्रॉम आफ्टर द एजुकेशन. उधर भी इश्यूज तो आएंगे बिहेवियर्स के, बिकॉज ये हमारे एक सोसाइटल ब्रॉट अप है. So we have to work on all generation within our organization, and both genders, not just women or not just men, because bazukat एक चीज, you know, the kind of a social setup we have, you know, one behavior which is coming out of protectiveness can be perceived as a harassment. See, you're getting my point? Maybe the intent is not harassment, the intent is not there to, you know, do a wrong thing, is being, that's a parental behavior or being protective, or, you know, both genders बहुत सारे areas में अभी they don't know how to deal with each other. You know, what is the right behavior, what is the wrong behavior on both sides. They, because 12वीं क्लास तक तो अलग स्कूलों में पढ़ते हैं, उसके बाद जाके कहीं मास्टर्स वगैरह में, जनरल ज़्यादा पब्लिक की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, फिर जाके को एजुकेशन शुरू होती है. So we don't know as well that how to handle both genders and how to handle those kind of comments or questions. But again, my message is that please do not stay quiet. Even you have policy or you don't have a policy, because you have to stand for yourself, and organizations have to create examples, yes, but the right examples. See, ये भी बहुत comment आता है कि जी harassment का case अगर कोई किसी woman की तरफ से आएगा तो उसको right और wrong check किए बगैर ही decision ले लेंगे. So create right examples. Create right examples. और वो डिटरेंट बनता है. फिर बिहेवियर तो शायद आप ना चेंज करें, आप डिटरेंस जरूर क्रिएट कर सकते हैं.
As in precedence, and as Pouru also said, you have to set examples. And I'm glad you mentioned it's not just harassment against women, but it's also men. There is innumerable cases, and men will not come up either, because it's that environment of trust that needs to be created. But again, speak up. And thank you for mentioning that. Samiha, any point that you would like to make here regarding what we're discussing regarding the environment in terms of, what empowerment we have and what we can do to bring in that change in that mindset?
Yeah. I read a very interesting document last year sometime. And what they actually explained was they said that people should be in our society are actually divided into 3 categories. And so I'll tell you what categories they are, and you'll see that these 3 categories are there within your organization, school, colleges, everywhere. The most vulnerable ones, the ones that are pressed due to burden or they're pressed with earning money, they're the ones which are most vulnerable. They are the ones that can be easily pressed. And those are the ones perhaps that will not speak up out of fear for losing their job or be it whatever. Then the second category of people, which you can call as are on the mid-level, with the right trust, training, they will come forward. And then those are, few people within the organization or within the society, which come from the right background, education, with strong nerves. They're strong people. उनके साथ कुछ होता भी नहीं है because of their personality. They're strong. Like, people like us, right? Chances आपके बहुत कम हो जाते हैं. तो वो जो base वाली category है, that's the one that, what all of my colleagues just said. A lot of training, trust needs to be built around those things, and those are the ones, the wo category and the one above it needs to be the one which has to be protected the most. Now, since our parent company is obviously global, and we all of our panelists here come from very structured organizations. We've got policies, we've got support, we can speak up, people listen to us. But this issue is very, very grave when you talk of unstructured organizations, which is state culture wale issues. And wahan pe to these matters are not even brought on the table, they're not highlighted. And I just want to leave the males, the boys and the girls who are listening to us right now, just remember one thing. If you do not speak today, what has happened today, rest be assured, will be multiplied in a bad way tomorrow, because it just doesn't stop. You've got to stop it yourself. If you don't stop it, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen in a bad way again. So you've got to have the courage to, speak up and pull yourself up from this category of people to the other category of people.
So it's
sorry, Huma, may I just interject here? I think one more thing which is very, very important is that when a woman speaks up, वो speak up करने से पहले सोच ले कि आपने अगर बोला है तो फिर investigation होगी. There will be investigation. There will be questions asked. There will be a due process which will be followed. What happens is that sometimes women do speak up, and then midway or just after 2 interviews, they just said, we don't want to pursue it anymore. We don't want to do anything about it. And then we were not able to pursue the case. We were not able to close it. And that man goes scot-free because he gets an opportunity that I've done it once and I can do it again and nothing's really happening. So I keep telling women all the time that whenever they come to me with even the smallest of complaints, I tell them that, look, yes, I've heard your complaint, but this is the process that will follow. So either you are ready for it or you're not ready, because iska bahut hi ek bura domino impact aa jata hai. कि अगर आपने पहले बोला और फिर आप चुप हो गए, आ जाती है, and then you have to understand this is a society जहाँ कोई भी चीज कोई basically confidential नहीं रहती है, ठीक है ना? So people do come to know. हम जितनी भी कोशिश करें कि हम इस चीज को confidential रखें, and we make sure that we give complete confidentiality की एक environment. But let's be honest, these things don't really stay in the bubble that we want it to be, and therefore we have to understand that when you raise your hand, make sure this is what you want to do.
Arshia, you want to say something?
जी, मैं थोड़ा सा डिसएग्री करूंगी माजरत के साथ.
नहीं, कोई बात नहीं, आप बोले.
When you this is in a way discouragement of not speaking. I know as an organization हमें फिर अपने policies और processes को simplify करने चाहिए rather than telling anybody, मर्द हो या औरत हो, कि यार ये बड़ा मुश्किल काम है, लेकिन जब तक, और अगर 10 लोगों को पता चलता है, 5 लोगों को पता चलता है और उसके बाद आप right decision लेते हैं और उसको भी आप example बनाते हैं, so then it should not stop people from coming and speaking. अगर आप सिर्फ अपने प्रोसेस के कम्बसम होने की वजह से और अपने नॉन कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी जो हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का मसला है की होने की वजह से आप लोगों को कहेंगे कि यार सोच के आओ भाई, समझ के आओ, इसमें आगे बहुत मुश्किल हालात हैं, बड़े कांटे हैं रास्ते में, तो इन अ वे यू आर आस्किंग देम नॉट टू स्पीक, एंड दैट इज वेयर आई डिसएग्री. I think we should not stop them.
Arshia, we are not stopping them. Sorry, we are not stopping them. What we need to tell them is we need to guide them when women come. Yeah,
Be
we need to
resilient.
guide them
Yeah,
through.
hang in there.
Nobody's
Be
stopping
resilient.
them.
Yeah.
Help them to build the courage.
Yeah. So many times we tell
I
them that
agree.
look, this is and the process, हमारा process कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि cumbersome हो, but girls डर जाती हैं, women डर जाते हैं.
So we
Right?
need to
And
support them.
we need to support, and
support
then and
उनको
once
जरूरी
when they
है.
once when they raise, once when they say, they hold their hands up saying कि नहीं, मेरे parents मना कर रहे हैं, या and no, and these are women who come from areas which are not the main cities, not the main regions. They come from areas where it is anyway too difficult for them to talk, and then when they talk, they feel कि, you know, I feel more insecure. And you are far away from them, right? So I am far away from them. I'm not in the same building. I'm not in the same area. I'm not in the same region that I can quickly go and do something for them. So for them, my thing for them is that have the courage and then stay there.
हाँ, वो ठीक कह रही हैं.
This
वो तो
is
हमारा लॉ भी यही है. हमारे कोर्ट में चले जाओ तो भी लोग ऐसे ही तंग होते हैं. वो आप बिल्कुल ठीक कह रही हैं. You're right.
So एक हिम्मत की जरूरत है. जब आप बोलो तो फिर हिम्मत की जरूरत है.
Resilient, yeah.
And one last comment I'd like to make to all the fellow, colleagues and peers who work with such toxic men or women. I mean, there are very few of them, I suppose, but men primarily. If you see this happening and you know it's wrong, you need to speak up as well. I think that's where we go wrong as a society. If you see something wrong happening on the street and you don't speak up, you will be held responsible one day. Karma too will happen here, but even afterwards, you will be asked that why did you not speak up? So and we can create that, then people will really look over their shoulders, then think twice before they even, do such a thing. So ladies, I think this is such an important topic, and we need to really, really, give that safety net for people to come up and speak. And thank you so much for speaking up here. Before we open it up to the audiences, one last, if I ask you, as leaders of HR, how empowered you are, what one do's or don'ts would you like to leave? I would love to talk till late night and ask more from you. But what is that one thing would you give as an advice to emerging professionals, women professionals or leaders in our Pakistani environment? What is that one do's or don'ts would you like to share?
One advice.
One advice, oh yeah. So Samiha, let's start with you.
Thank you very much. So God's most critical creation is man. We know that, right? And my one advice to females, it's not one, it's actually rather two. Have a support system for yourself when it comes to learning. Have a role model for yourself when it comes for advice as well. Because the working women होती है ना, उनको घर को manage करने के लिए भी they need a support system. So have that so that you can, when you're out there, you're with a little peace of mind. And why I say to have a guru, a role model, be it in the family, be it in the organization, because as you're growing up, you need to have that professional advice coming in. How do I do this? How do I take care of that? So my advice would be, around these two areas for all of the emerging women who are out there and who are eventually going to, at some point in time, replace us and be there. So that's
fantastic. Thank you, Samiha. Alia, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think first and foremost, everyone needs to be an adult. Women tend to shy away from taking decisions. Take your own decisions. Make sure that you're taking your own decisions using your head. Be logical. And when you are within the organization, you need to be heard. But you have to speak up. You have to sit at the table. Don't sit at the back. Never sit at the back. You deserve to be on the table, be there. So that's it.
Thank you, Alia. Arshia?
All right. So मैं तो एक revolutionary सा बंदा हूँ. So मेरी advice तो ये है कि never ever second guess yourself. Be yourself, keep
Very
walking,
true.
keep doing what you want to do. आप में confidence है, नहीं है, आप थोड़े से पागल हैं, जो भी है. Just be yourself, keep walking and get to your goal.
Never second guess yourself.
Yeah,
Thank you,
lovely.
Arshia. Because so many people are gaslighting you anyway, you know, making you think कि जो किया वो गलत है, कैसे हो सकता है, I'm a woman, I'm the weaker, you know, gender, but you have to get that out of your head. So thank you so much. And last but not the least, Pouru, आपका क्या piece of advice है मेरे लिए?
ये सबके सबने इतनी अच्छी बातें कर ली, and I agree with everything. सबने thunder ले लिया मेरे पास. They've taken the thunder away from me. No, honestly. So I think what everybody said was actually spot on. You have to get a mentor, make sure that you get somebody who you can speak to for anything, you know, not just for a professional career, but even your personal life, because women have to balance both. You know, I mean, you can't. हमें तो छुट्टी मिलती ही नहीं है. Okay, so you have to make sure that you can balance both. Also, I think women should have courage and should understand that हम resilient हैं. हमसे ज़्यादा resilient कोई नहीं है. So if you have courage, if you have resilience, and keep at it, and also one more thing, please don't compare yourself with your male counterpart. ये 2 साल में promote हो गया, मैं नहीं हुई. वो 2.5 साल में उसको grade मिल गई, मुझे नहीं मिली. Girls, they don't produce children. They don't work, have to work at home. You are doing 2 jobs and 2 bang-up jobs. You are raising children. They don't. All right? इनके लिए जब घर जाते हैं तो बीवियां खाना पेश करती है. आपको खाना पेश करना पड़ता है. So you are anyway here. तो आपको उनका मुकाबला ना करें, आप अपने आप से मुकाबला करें. Because I've seen a lot of women who say, so you be your own person, make sure that this is your own journey, your own fight.
Fantastic.
You don't need to compare. No, don't compare yourself with your male counterpart.
No, we love all these things. We love hearing all these things. And I think you've given us a lot of insight. I'd like to open up to this, the crowd we have here. We also have a crowd at Facebook. Any questions coming from the Zoom people here? You're more than welcome to mute your
Go off
your mute. Yeah, and throw a question. Please go ahead. Otherwise, we had a couple of people.
She has another phone to go to.
All right, please go ahead. Just one last question, jo I was throwing at, because this came from earlier people who were joining in. One line, how has it been working in a male-dominant culture and reaching where you've reached? How has it been?
Anyone?
Okay, so I'll go first. I can say I have been fortunate because I started my career with multinational banks. So even though male dominated the, but they were very, very supportive. However, I mean, there was an element of microaggression and soft harassment, और वो सब कुछ था. ऐसा नहीं था कि नहीं था. So many a times you could just close your ears. Many a times you could ignore. Sometimes you would speak up, and sometimes you would just put the person in the person's place. So इतनी courage होनी चाहिए कि आप speak up तो बाद में करो. उसी वक्त उसको एक stern look देके और एक stern वो देके उसको अपनी जगह पे बिठा दो. So वो, and it only comes from a place of courage. Okay, and resilience and the belief in yourself.
Okay, Alia, I know that you had to push off to another one. Do you want to say some last words before we say bye to you, and then we'll just see if anybody else has any other questions.
Thank you very much first for inviting me, and I hope I think I've learned a lot more than I've actually given back. But just one small thought, I think at the end of the day, when you are working outside your house, you're a professional, you need to understand the professional ethics and values as a male and as a female, and try and better them every time you go back to the office. You also need to be your true authentic self at all times. and you have to make sure that you are there professionally in terms of how you approach other genders in the workplace. It always has to be with respect, with dignity, respecting others, respecting your own space also. So drawing a line where you know that there needs to be a line. I think that's very important. And then normally people respect that. If you don't draw lines, if you don't say no, if you don't give that communication that what you are doing is making me uncomfortable, the other person wouldn't know. So you really need to understand that as well, and make sure that senior or junior, whenever you are uncomfortable, you do talk, you say it, that, okay, this is not okay for me. That's really important, I think. So that's it. And thank you very much. I have to sign off because I have to rush off.
We understand. Thank you. Thank you, Alia.
Thank you for giving the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alia. So just one last question for the ladies who are here. Arshia and Samiha, because we have a couple of questions on work-life balance thrown into the chat.
I think this is one thing which we always get, the work-life balance.
But we did address it a little bit earlier for people who might have joined later with respect to, when you had COVID and you're working from home. But a little bit of work-life balance, कि क्या उतना ही मुश्किल है जितना लोग देख के जरा उसको daunting समझ के घर बैठ जाते हैं और प्रोफेशनल लाइफ की तरफ परस्यू नहीं करते, या बैलेंस किया जाता है? So Arshia जा सकता है, तो Arshia आपसे और फिर Samiha will come to you and then we can wrap it up. जी.
So पहली बात तो ये कि 9 to 5 जहन से निकाल दें कि ये work life balance है. So there's no, it's not a definition of work life balance anymore. So working till 8 probably a work life balance for me, but not for you. So एक तो हर एक का अपने हिसाब से एक वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस है जहाँ पे उसने कुछ घंटे या कुछ काम करना है और कुछ अपने आप को टाइम देना और या फैमिली को टाइम देना. एक औरत होने के नाते आई थिंक it gets taxing to you because as a women we have to prove ourselves twice. We have to work twice to prove ourselves. तो वो फिर आपका घर हो या आपका ऑफिस हो, आपको वहां पे डबल मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. सो अपना वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस आपको खुद स्ट्राइक करना है. काफी हिट एंड ट्रायल के बाद यू विल रियलाइज कि अच्छा ठीक है, वीकेंड्स इज समथिंग व्हिच इज टोटली फॉर फैमिली एंड आई विल नॉट डू एनी वर्क ओवर द वीकेंड. और वीकडेज में प्रॉब्ली 6 बजे के बाद या रात को मैं काम करूंगी, सुबह के 4 घंटे काम नहीं करूंगी. एंड देन यू मेक श्योर दैट योर मैनेजर्स एंड पीपल अराउंड यू know this. You tell them and don't be guilty about it. Like any other human being, you have your own needs, and be totally unapologetic in communicating your own needs to your managers and work on your own conditions. So follow this, and I think generally managers are understanding. They do understand all of these things, and it is difficult for the first time, then uske baad all set.
So you really do have the ability to detect your own work-life balance, and you really do know that whether you are doing justice to the work-life balance or not. So very true.
Fantastic. And Samiha, if we just wrap it up with you, your comments, please, your final comments, anything you want to add.
Well, as I said, structured organizations generally do implement work-life balance, and they do respect it at the same time. There might be difficult managers that may come along your way, but as Arshia said, you need to draw that line. Work, does come in spikes. So sometimes there are days when we actually, and I'm sure all of you must be spending extra hours night, when there are some audit reports going out. So we do spend some extra time, kabhi 10, 11, but that's one-off occasions, and that's okay. It should not and should never continue like that. And obviously you need to have the courage to speak up. Just one last comment on the speak up part, which is a connecting answer to the previous question. We also need to realize a girl in her 20s will have a different response. A girl in 30s, a female in her 40s will have an absolutely different response when dealing with her counterparts. And that initial years for a girl needs to, that courage, that building up of character needs to start from home. So all fathers, brothers who are actually listening to us right now need to hear this, that courage that you're going to give your sister, your wife, your daughter has to come from home. Organizations are only sort of going to support that character. So that's going to be my
Fantastic.
next.
Very well said.
Very well said. Thank you for saying that. That's important. That character, that support, that grooming, that courage has to be given by the family. Very true.
So if we were doing
just one thing.
sorry.
Just one
Yes,
thing. So the term which is now being used mostly instead of work-life balance is work-life harmony. So balance is out. You
I was
have to
just
have
I
harmony.
was just going to say that it's no more work-life balance. It's how you strike the harmony between work and life.
Wow.
And
That's
truly,
that's music to my ears.
and truly, I always say, if you enjoy what you're doing, all right, it doesn't matter if you're working till 9, doesn't matter if you're working till 10, as long as you are able to balance your home and balance your work. And
We
also
need to
a
get
very
some-
very important thing is
Also,
planning.
we need to then
Yeah.
borrow
Plan.
some energy from Pouru also.
I wish
So
we were
plan.
doing this face to face. हम आपको हक करते.
Plan
आपको
करो.
इतनी amazing insights दी. We are so proud to have women like you in our workforce, and it's women like you that encourage other young women, and I'm sure even men, कि अच्छा ये भी हो सकता है, हमने इनके साथ भी compete करना है. So this is not competition, it's all about collaboration. And if you guys ever need any tips, please write to us, write to them, and learn from each other. Communication is the best way of growing in every sense. So Samiha, Alia is left, Pouru, and Arshia, thank you so much for giving us such an amazing, enriched webinar, and for the people who have joined us here or on Facebook or any other of our other social media platforms, thank you for listening in. It's always great to listen in and get some, some tips, maybe something somewhere will stick and make a difference in your life.
Or maybe strike a chord in you.
Yeah, and harmonize that person inside of you. So I'm signing off. I'm Mariam, and
Sorry, this is
Thank you so much. Thank you.
बहुत shukriya, and again, once again, thank you from Franklin Kavi Pakistan for coming and joining us. Take care,
Thank you
Ji.
for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure
Anytime.
meeting everybody else online, virtually. That's the world.
And big hugs, virtual hugs.
Yes.
Yeah, virtual hugs.
Yeah, there you go.
Take care. Khuda Hafiz.
Bye-bye. Yes.